Well, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. These are wagon wheels. There's about 7 of them there. One of them already has a little bit of a chunk taken out of it, and they come in packets that look like this. And here's another wagon wheel, and this time the wagon wheel is my latest investment strategy, and I've been discussing it if you've been following the channel over the last month leading up to the Melbourne Cup, and the strategy has been working very well. So it got me thinking a little bit about, can we turn this into an investment opportunity? And I was thinking back to Don Scott, who was a very successful punter last century in the 1970s and 80s. I read his book and I tried to implement some of his ideas. Sort of think of him really as thoroughbred racing's version of discounted cash flow analysis, where you try to take into account all the things that might happen to a horse in a race and come up with an assessment of what you think are the true odds for that horse, and then horses which are over the odds you back, horses which are under the odds you leave alone. So I went back and had a look at the Melbourne Cup results and revisited my wagon wheel calculations. Thought about which sort of numbers would you say are horses that have no chance of winning a race, and I eventually came up with the notion that a total of 60 or less meant you pretty much had no hope of winning. Now, you could make a different assessment of what the number should be, but anyway, I settled on 60 and then subtracted that number away from the actual rating that the horse achieved to come up with an adjusted rating, and then calculated what percentage of the total of all of that column would apply to that particular horse. So Twilight Payment, for example, had a score of 14. Out of the total from that column gave it a rating of 22%. Incentivise was 19%, Spanish Mission 12.7%, and that converts to these prices in this second last column. Now, as you can see, the true odds according to this system for Twilight Payment was $4.50, but you could have got $13, and so therefore you would have had a bet on it. Now, these bets here are to return $25 at these odds. So I put $5.50, say, on Twilight Payment. You don't back Incentivise because its price is poor. You do back Spanish Mission, and you do back Very Elegant because the true assessment of its price is $15.75, but you could get $17 at the start of the race. So you have about $1.50 on that. Net result of all that is that you would have had 6 horses running in the race that you backed for a total outlay of around about $18, and with Very Elegant winning, you got a return of $25.50, which is quite a reasonable return on investment, I thought. So I decided I was going to apply it on the next day, on Wednesday, to the Kyneton Cup. Now, the Kyneton Cup got savaged by scratchings because there was a downpour there and the track turned into a bog. So we only had 7 horses eventually going around in the race. But I ran the wagon wheel over it and it came up with Indiana Lily as the top selection with 81 points. Equine Philosopher second with 71 points. And the only other horse over 60 was Dalamax at 61. Now, once I then did the adjustments, we come up with these percentages. The appropriate price for the horses according to these calculations is $1.57. For Indiana Lily, you could have got $6. Equine Philosopher, the correct price should have been $3. You could have got $14. And Dalamax, correct price $33, but it started at $13, so you wouldn't bet on that. So there are 2 horses to bet on here. You should have, say, $16 on Indiana Lily and $8 on Equine Philosopher. So let's go to the race and have a look at what happened.
Equine Philosopher took a narrow lead. Silent Command's fighting on. Then followed further back to Indiana Lily, who's railing hard on the inside. Silent Command's the leader. He beat off Equine Philosopher. Indiana Lily hasn't gone around a horse. Back to Silent Command's inside. Silent Command led. Not now. Indiana Lily on the inside. Didn't go round a horse. Wins the bet 365. Kyneton Cup half head.
Well, I did put those bets on, and somehow or other I've managed to make it a $13 bet on Indiana Lily rather than 16, and my $8 on Equine Philosopher on my Betfair account and I've had a win on the race, so that's very nice. So, brimming with enthusiasm, I've gone to Thursday's meeting and had a go at 2 races. I tried the Benchmark 80, ended up having to back 5 horses in that race. The winner of the race was Bermudez, which came up as having no hope whatsoever, according to the system. And so that was a loss of about $17, I think, there on that race. But interestingly, the top pick in the race, Brazen Song, started at $41. I actually got $61 about it on Betfair, and with about 50 metres to go, it was actually in front. So I was thinking I was in for an awesomely good result, but it eventually got run down and finished up running third. So that was a $17 loss. So I then attacked the Oaks, and it came up with only 3 horses that had scores above 60. We had Willowy, Elusive Express and Daisies. According to the prices and these calculations that I've made, Willowy should have been $2.08 chance, and I managed to get $4, even though the starting price is about $3.60. Got $4 on Betfair, and Elusive Express, the correct price should have been $2.50, but it eventually drifted out and started at around about $9 on Betfair. Anyway, Willowy did win the race, so we got a return of $48 in total for that. There are those 2 bets. I backed Elusive Express at 6s. As I said, it drifted out to $9, so I could have got better. But anyway, the net result, won $36 on that bet, lost $10 on that bet. So overall on the day, we had an outlay of $39, a return of $48, for a return on investment of 23%. So better than bank interest. So going forward, what's the challenge? Well, the challenge to me is, to which sorts of races do I apply the strategy? Now, my gut feeling says you really want to be looking at races with lots of disclosed form, things like open handicaps, cups and weight for age events, run over reasonable distances so that horses have had a few starts, and so the form is reasonably clear to be seen. I don't think you want to be using this in races where you've got lots of horses that haven't raced for a while, or young horses where there's not much form to be seen. So we're not going to be betting in every race that's going around at every track, that's for sure. So anyway, I've decided to have a go tomorrow, and I've picked 4 races that I think are worthy candidates. We've got the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, and so long as there's no scratchings, the selections look to be Lunar Flare and Wentwood, based on my assessment of the true prices. The next race we're going to look at is the Tab Matriarch Stakes. Going to have to back 5 horses in this race: Nimalee, Our Intrigue, Zaydani, Godaline and Mahashakti. The third race I'm looking at is the Chatham Stakes. 4 horses to bet on in this race. So we've got Dice Roll, Just a Canter, Be Good to Your Mother and Morvada. Top pick here is Just a Canter. I've got it rated at $4.19, but at the time I'm recording this, it's $8.50. So, if it won, I'd have about $6 on that at $8.50. So I get a return of around about $50 or so if it happened to get up. The last race, McKinnon Stakes, 4 horses to bet in that, and really interestingly, it is not suggesting that you'd be wanting to back Zaki. It's got 75 points, but down here, Colette comes out with 76 points. So Colette is the favourite, and based on the assessments here, it should be around about $3.40 odd, but it's currently at $4.80. So we'll be having around about $7 bet on that to return $25 if it gets up, based on these prices. Of course, because I'm getting a better price over here, the return will be more than $25 if successful. So why am I doing this? Well, it's mathematical, and you know how much I love looking for patterns and applying mathematical formulas. There's certainly a certain logic to it when you look at the numbers in the table. It makes a reasonable amount of sense. I like the fact that it's mechanical. There is no subjectivity, well, almost no subjectivity. I just have to rely on the TAB assessment of whether the horse is up in class, the same class, or down in class. But apart from that, it's purely a mechanical process. And lastly, if it works, then the results could be awesome. So here's the maths that makes me think that. I'm going to start with a starting bank of $500 because that's how much money YouTube paid me in ad revenue for the videos that I've put out on the Melbourne Cup. I can't believe it. We've got in total nearly 30,000 views on those 2 videos, and for some reason advertisers were loving to put their adverts up there. So I've got nearly $500 in ad revenue, so I'm going to take that ad revenue and apply it to this strategy. So the risk per race is going to be a maximum of $25. That's 5% of the starting bank. Estimated return on investment based on those results I've got recently, I'm going to say it's 20%. So how long is it going to take to turn over the bank? Well, I reckon you're probably going to get maybe 4 or 5 races a week, so it might take about a month to turn the bank over. Now, if I can get that consistently, of course, that's a big stretch of hopefulness, I guess. Bank after 1 year would become nearly 4,500. After 2 years, it'd become nearly 40,000. And after 3 years, we'd be up at 350,000, which is unrealistically large because you're not really going to be able to get 5% of that onto onto a horse in a race. So at some stage or other, you're going to have to level things out and just accept that you might be able to get, you know, few $100 maybe onto a race without messing the prices up. I'm not sure. I haven't even looked at that too much. But, you know, if the system works, compounding this up is going to grow to a reasonable total very quickly. So you don't need to risk much. And what happens if it doesn't work? Well, I've lost $500, but I have had some fun along the way. So from here on in, I'm going to do a wagon wheel post every Friday. I'm only going to be betting most of the time in Melbourne. I might have a look at Sydney as well, but most of the time we'll have a look in Melbourne. Be consistent. So we'll post every Friday the races that I think we can make some money on, but I will be applying the system during the week. You know, if you're racing somewhere out in the country, and you know most of the races are say for like $25,000 or $30,000, but suddenly up pops a $60,000 or a $70,000 race that's a handicap, then I might be having a go at that as well. So that's it for this week. Hope you're enjoying this sort of content. I know it's not my usual stock market investment stuff, but I do like thoroughbred racing. I know that some people that watch have indicated that they don't really enjoy the racing all that much, and that's okay. They don't need to watch, I guess. But anyway, I do appreciate you sticking to the end of this one, and if you are having a bet tomorrow at Flemington, I do wish you all the very best with your wagers. Till I catch up with you on Sunday for the review of the week on the stock market, I hope you continue to keep very well.